Hey guys, it's me, I guess for the first time or again, depending on if you've seen any of my videos. But today I was going to cut out a stencil from start to finish and put it on a piece of clothing so that way you can kind of see the whole process instead of just me cutting out a stencil a little bit. So basically you're going to need certain materials, which is an X-Acto holder, X-Acto blades, a good cutting board if you do this a lot. I mean, you don't really need one, but I do it, a few times a week, so I like to have a good solid cutting board. And you need your stencil, which is printed here. I'm doing a hammer and sickle this time, just because I have this Soviet red shirt, and I couldn't think of anything better to put on it than a hammer and sickle. So I don't want to get any posts or comments or anything stupid about, oh, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. It's just a stencil. And I do kind of support communism, but, I mean, it has its flaws. I'm going to grab a brand new blade. The one on top I've used before, but I want to get some pretty precise cuts this time, so I'm using a brand new one from the middle of the pack. Close this up. The X-Acto holder comes with about 3 blades, and it costs about $1.80 at Walmart, which is where I get all of my supplies, pretty much, even the cutting board. The blades, a pack of them, I think a pack has about 5. It costs about $1.50 to $1.80. I got lucky and my school bookstore had them on clearance, so I got about 9 or 10 of these packs of 5, but I think at my bookstore they were packs of 10. But I got each of them for 10 cents each. So I got roughly 90 blades for about 90 cents. So it was a really good deal. I was really excited about it. Also, I do a lot of my designing at school because I have access to a printer and designing and everything like that. Most of this is for school. Like, I do a lot of shirts with psychology stuff on it. But anyway, this is a very simple pattern. It's got a lot of straight lines, a lot of straight curves. Not very much intricacies, but there is some right here on the handle. But it's not that bad. So it's not going to be a huge deal. It should come out pretty nice. I am using paper instead of acetate or a form of plastic and copying it, because I only really plan to use this once for right now. If I need another one, I will. But honestly, this is a huge, huge stencil for an average t-shirt. I don't have a t-shirt in arm's reach, or else I'd show you in comparison. But think of like a superhero, the logo on their chest, it's about that size. I mean, here's the size of my hand. Just put your hand on your chest, and that's about how big the stencil is. So, alright, I'm going to start cutting it out now. If it's shadowy, I'm sorry, but I kind of have to lean in close so I can see what I'm doing. Angle this a little bit more so you guys can see, because I had to move it closer to me so I could actually get a decent look. You're kind of on the over the shoulder kind of view. I like working with stencils with very straight lines just because it's so much easier than working with a stencil with a lot of curves. Like, doing portraits of people is a huge pain, just because there's so many curves and little intricacies like eyeballs and everything like that. But working with straight lines is very good for beginners, and if you're like me, who I'm still pretty much a beginner, but I have done this roughly 20, 30 times, so I'm getting better each time I do it. Another trick you can do to kind of help straighten out your lines is take the blade, but instead of cutting with the point, let me get this at a good angle, like, and just taking the point and cutting down, line it up. Line the whole blade up with the line, and so that way it's following the line, so the back end of the knife towards this way, it'll kind of be your guide to make sure your line keeps going straight. If you watch, I'm going to cut this side, and I'm going to hold it kind of like this, kind of like if you're doing charcoal drawing. You can put it down flat in this corner, right here, and I line it up with the back, and I press slightly firmer than I would normally, then I can guide it all the way down and get a perfect straight line cut out of that. It works pretty well. You know, I've been experimenting with different cutting methods lately, and that's one of the ones that's a keeper, I guess you'd say. So far I've cut out all this part, so down to, well, I didn't put that in too well. I need to tighten that better. The blade fell out in case you can't see what I'm doing. There we go, that's better. So I'll go back and just roughly recut a little bit of the spots where I didn't quite go through all the way because I wasn't pressing hard enough. So now I got the biggest part of the hammer out, which is the easiest part of this particular stencil. Now I have to do some curves, which are, I don't know, I don't really like doing curves. But let's see how well we can do. Again, if you've watched my videos, you know that I always recommend moving the paper, not your hand, because it'll give you a better curve in general. Just kind of pull your hand down very slowly while you move the paper, and it combines the speed of the paper with the speed of your cutting, and you don't have to move your wrist at all, really. You're just using your fingertips, and you'll cut out on a nice curve, and it'll look a lot better than if you try to do it just moving your hand. Alright, you can see I got that out. Nice curves. I'll probably have to clean it up a little bit because I think I did kind of go a little bumpy, I'll say. And now for the handle of the hammer. And again, this looks kind of like it's squared off, but it's actually round. But it's kind of a tight little curve here. So I'm doing more moving with my wrist and less moving of the paper because it's kind of a straight curve. I'm going to have to clean that line up too, because I always prefer to cut on the inside of the black, because if you cut on the inside of the black, you know, you can always take more out. It doesn't really matter. You can cut all you want on the black because that's going to get thrown away. But if you cut out in the white, you're screwed. You have to do it all over because you can't go back. You can't put more on it. You can always take more off. So alright, I have all this done. So I'm about halfway done with the stencil already, so it's not that bad. Just cut a little bit more. Done with that curve. See, it's not really a long process. I mean, I will have to go back and clean this up just a little bit, but that's not going to take very long. Maybe 5-10 minutes, I guess. When you're picking out a design for a stencil, always keep colors in mind, because some colors don't work on top of other colors. They just don't look right. I lost track of where I was cutting now. I really have no clue what I was doing, but whatever. Like, I did a stencil of a girl, and I used white paint when I should have used black, because, I mean, the white plays an optical illusion on your mind, and instead of creating shadows because of the black,